You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889. Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name's Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM and the host of Community Forum. And with me today is Jeff Campbell. Jeff Campbell is known as the Marketing and Business Development Director of the Carlsbad Department of Development, but he's also known as a local author. We're going to talk about his book, local author, one that was just published. It's called Catholic's Grade School Tales, The Good, the Bad, and the OMG. Or oh my God for long, right? The OMG would be short. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Johnny. How are you?
Good. I'm doing quite well. The holidays are around us, so things tend to slow down a little bit. But real quick, do you just want to talk a little bit about how things are going at DoD?
Yeah, like you said, the holidays are among us right now, are upon us right now, and things in our industry do slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
We got Thanksgiving and then Christmas, but then we also have a big trade show coming up in January, so we're not quite unbusy, so to speak, but we're getting ready for that. We've also got some other projects that we've still continue to work on and keep the ball up in the air so that nothing falls short of expectations and deadlines and stuff like that. So a lot of good exciting things still going on for Carlsbad. Business wise, there's a lot of companies that are still looking to come here. Industry is still really strong,
right?
So I mean, it's all in all, everything is still at a very high level.
Well, we're here for the book, but not to get off topic. The Wingstop opened.
It did,
right?
And from what I understand, when they opened in Roswell, they had about a $13,000 day,
right?
And here in Carlsbad, the numbers, they didn't give us the exact numbers, but we were told it was more than 13,000, but less than 20,000. So we beat Roswell.
All right, there we go.
Opening day, so that's very good.
Bragging rights wherever we can get them.
That's right. We'll take it.
Absolutely. Planet Fitness is coming along nicely.
Yeah, I think they're looking at February for opening. I know they're getting the walls put up right now. And there's been tons of development delays across the country with the different shortages and supply chain and all that stuff. So they had anticipated December, but it's been pushed back to February. But they're still on track to get open and get going.
Yeah, that'll be a nice addition for sure. And there's tons of other good things coming along in the community. So we'll have you on another time to talk about some of that next in 2023 and what the future looks like. But like I said, today we're here for Catholic Grade School Tales, The Good, the Bad, and the OMG. Jeff Campbell, local author. This is exciting. When did you decide to write a book?
Well, the idea probably came to me, I would say, like roughly maybe between 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought about, I talked with some of my friends from grade school, and we always talk about maybe doing some kind of reunion or, just getting together back in El Paso where we all, most of the people still live in and around the El Paso area. So we thought, well, one of these days we should just do it. And, you just get to thinking about old times and memories and fun events that happened and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what, I wonder if I could put that together in a book. And for a number of years, it kind of just sat in my head. And then I thought, well, I don't even know how to write a book. I've never done that before. And then I didn't know how I should present it. Like if I should go from kindergarten through 8th grade, which is what this book covers.
Okay.
Or if I should just do a collection of different memories I had or different stories and stuff like that. So, it took a while for me to really get the idea fleshed out a little bit. And eventually I ended up doing chronological from kindergarten to 8th grade. And that's when it started. I mean, it was probably about, like I said, about 7 years ago or so.
All right. So so you're working mostly off of memory and old photos, I assume, right? So how much do you really remember from kindergarten and 1st grade?
Well, not much from those 2 grades, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you, the things I remember are all in the book. So there was at least 200 and some odd pages of memories that I was able to recount. But you're right, I had old pictures. I only had 1 yearbook because we had, I think 3, but I lost the other 2, so I didn't even have those as reference either. But luckily, I mean, I kind of been blessed with some good memories. Some early reviews from a couple of my friends who bought the book already said, "Wow, you got it! You nailed it! That's exactly how I remembered it too." So I was like, "Okay, good. At least I got that right."
Right. Well, we'll mention this a couple times, but we'll start. It's available on Amazon.
Right.
Right. It's really easy to get to. You have a link through the post on your Facebook page.
Correct.
Which is how I found it. I think it's $24.95 for the paperback copy, or if you wanted to do if you have a Kindle and you wanted to do the Kindle, it'd be like $10 off from that. So
yeah, it's like $14.99.
Okay.
So yeah.
Great. So as partnering with Amazon, I'm sure Amazon gets a little bit of those sales as well, I assume. So Amazon was the publisher or is the publisher?
Well, I self-published.
Okay.
So I own all the rights because that was important to me. I didn't want anyone else to own my story, in case it ever blew up or anything like that. I mean, this is my story of my life. So I went through the whole self-publishing aspect of it so that, I could retain the ownership of everything.
Right.
And then number two, then I could publish all over the place and not just be stuck with one publisher like Amazon or whoever else I go with. So I wanted to be independent so that I could do that.
Where do you get a book printed when you're self-publishing?
Well, when you self-publish, you can go to different publishers like Amazon and some others, and they'll print it for you. But they take a huge cut as well. So,
Right.
That's the way that it goes if you're doing it that route. There's other ways you can go too, but you have to have more resources and different connections that I don't have since I'm just a first-time, author, not even on a professional level. I don't think so. But I'm learning as I go, and I think that I think I took the right route. I got everything copyrighted, and wanted to make sure that I retained all those ownership rights.
Okay, so I think that anybody that grew up in the public school system, being myself or a lot of people, I imagine Catholic school is quite a bit different.
I think there are some differences. Of course, the religious aspect is there right away, and we had to wear uniforms.
Right.
We couldn't dress like we wanted to and stuff like that. And it's a little bit stricter, more strict. There's a lot of people have images of like nuns cracking rulers on people's hands or whatever,
right.
and that stuff did not happen. I'll tell you that right
now.
But they just hold you to a higher level and standard of behavior, that they would expect of you to be in that school, with the religious background and so forth. So
okay, I
think that's probably the biggest difference. We had, in the book, I talk about all kinds of different things that were, people had fights. There was all kinds of stuff that goes on in regular schools too, in public schools. So it's not too different, but there are certain things that do make it stand apart.
Right. So was your grade school, was it all boys school?
No, the grade school, it was boys and girls.
Okay.
The all boys didn't happen until I went to Catholic high school. So
yeah, they're going to separate the sexes once you hit that age.
Right. And then there was a Catholic girls' school across town, in fact, that we could see from the top of our building, but it was miles across town.
Right. Worth the walk?
Yeah, right.
All
right.
Ride. Right. So, what was the inspiration behind finally getting down to it and wanting to write a book? And then how long did it take you to write it?
Well, I guess personally, I've always wanted to try to do different things. My professional job is my professional job, of course. But I always like to branch out and try to do different things and accomplish more than, most people would set out to do. So I really wanted to write this because I thought, why not? It's a book. I see people write books all the time. You see, people talking about, I wrote this and that. And my niece wrote a book of poetry that she got published too, and I bought that, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. So once I, set forth to do it, it took me probably about a good 3 years to get it ironed out and fleshed out, and that's because of other distractions, and it's not my full-time job to write a book. So,
right.
But once I really put, pen to paper or finger to keyboard, as it is, I would say the last 7 months or so, every weekend, every night, I was just hashing it out, writing it, going back and editing it. I did all the editing myself, so had to keep reading it. I had people close to me read drafts of it and tell me like, hey, what do you think? Stuff like that. So once I really got down to putting it together, it took probably about a good 7 months to flesh it all out.
Okay. And then so how many drafts do you think you ended up going through?
Oh, boy. I want to say at least 6. And for various reasons, whether the first draft you look through and you find all the typos and all that stuff and the grammatical errors. And then there were times where when I was reading it, I told some of the same stories twice.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, I got to copy or cut that one out. And, just getting things really in order. And then having someone else listen to it, because if you just edit your own work, you're inside of it. You don't see it from the outside and get a fresh set of eyes on it. So I think this 6th version is the one that I ended up with as the final version.
No, it's like when you write something and you spell a word wrong or the grammar's wrong and you read it and you don't find the error.
Right.
Right. That happens all the time.
Well, sometimes even Word doesn't find it. And they think it's fine. I'm like, oh, that's a big mistake right there. So.
Right, yeah. So you didn't just depend on Microsoft Word to edit your book.
No, that would have been a mistake. Because there's sometimes where if you like the word to, if I would leave the T off, well, Word doesn't see that as a misspelling for some reason. So I was like, oh, so you'd only catch that when you go through and write and read it. And then I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense there. So
So you've read this book many times.
Oh, yeah.
Right, multiple times.
Yeah, I'm actually, I hate to say it, I don't want to really read it anymore.
Yeah, right.
I know it, and I've read it, ad nauseum, and plus I lived it. So, it's, I'm kind of, that book is me, so,
When you're sitting in the nursing home at old age, probably be worth a great read at that point.
Hey, you never know. By then I may have forgotten all about it, and I'll have to refresh my memory.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point there. Well, we definitely don't want to give the book away. I really like the cover. I haven't had a chance to read it myself, but I was noticing in here you've kind of got some, before each chapter, right? If you do a chapter on summer baseball, then you go into the 6th grade, those type of things. And every one of those is associated with a picture. So anybody that's like reading this, wanted to get an idea of what it looked like or maybe even what it felt like beyond living it in your head, I mean, those pictures help as well.
Oh, yeah. They the first thing you notice is I joke in one of the picture captions, I was always in the back row in the middle because I was always the tallest, biggest kid in school all the time. Right. So, and then the second thing I laugh about and point out is our very distinguished red plaid shirt uniforms that we had to wear.
Yeah. It's every year. It's almost like the same photo. You're just getting even taller.
We just look different. Yeah, our hair might be cut different or whatever. But yeah, we had really ugly uniforms that we had to wear until 8th grade. Then they gave us these light, nice blue shirts that we could wear. And I was like, our last year here, we get the nice shirts.
Right, of course. So everybody else behind me gets the cool uniform.
Right, yeah, and we were stuck with everything. But that's okay. We dealt with it. So, but yeah, I think the pictures help tell the story. Especially when we're talking about, like, there's one in there, we talk about the spelling bee championship that I won in 8th grade, and you can see me at the mic in action, so to speak.
Right.
Spelling, if you will. But I tried to do that so that it helps, present the story in a nice, well-rounded way so people can see it too.
Right. It's kind of amazing. It's like, you mentioned that you lost 2 of the yearbooks out of the 3 that you had.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe I have any yearbooks, but anytime I go back home and see the parents, there's always a box of stuff that they're ready to get rid of, and it's just probably in there somewhere. And the next when I see them over Thanksgiving, they're probably going to go ahead and give me one of those as well.
Loaded on you, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. There's another box of stuff. Here's the drumsticks from the 7th grade type thing, right. Which I failed horribly, and I ended up getting a D in band, and I played the drums in the 7th grade.
Well, hey, at least you didn't get an F.
Well, yeah, I think that's the only reason I passed. It's just sometimes when you're younger, which I'm sure there's a lot of experiences in the book about that, you don't necessarily know what you're into and what you're not until you try it.
True.
Right? Yeah. I wasn't into band, right? But I had to basically almost fail a class to learn it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like in summertime, my parents always wanted me to play a sport, and they put me first in basketball, which I was not good at all. I remember we won a championship, and I think I played maybe 30 seconds that whole season.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to play basketball. And then, but then they made me play baseball, and I really loved baseball, and I was really good at it. And I finally got to a point where I was a good first baseman. I could hit home runs, stuff like that.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, it's kind of trial and error. And kind of your parents making you do stuff that you don't want to do.
Right.
And you learn from that, and you go on. So
that's what you got to tell the folks. I failed because it just wasn't for me. It's not right. Yeah. It's not because I didn't apply myself, which may have been the case as well.
True.
Give us a couple of stories in here, then a couple of maybe the most memorable ones.
Well, first I wanted to talk about one of the themes of the story.
Okay.
A lot of times, and it still carries over today. A lot of this book shows how I suffered from really pretty big anxiety when I was growing up, and so there's a lot of social, outings and stuff like that I really didn't want to be a part of. And even now today, there's still certain times where I'm like, ugh. I really,
right.
Even at the grocery store, I'm like, I can't even be here. There's too many people.
Well, Albertsons gets crowded too. There's no question.
So that was an underlying theme of the whole time of my life growing up. I was always, like I said, the biggest kid, tallest kid. It's easy for people to make fun of you when you're in that situation, I guess.
Right.
And it happened.
Almost like the sore thumb of the group, right? Yeah. You were noticed.
Right. And you kind of have a target on your back, whether it's implied or not. It's just kind of there. So I dealt with that growing up. And then some of the funnier stories in there, I'll say this about the book. There's 3 stories that involve people vomiting. There's a story about us almost burning the church down, which was a complete accident. And then I broke a church window, one of the painted glass windows one time while we were doing a living rosary.
Probably a historic glass window would be my assumption.
Yeah, and for years afterwards, that window had a piece of masking tape on the bottom corner where I leaned up against it, and it cracked all the way on the side. So it was funny. Every time we went to church, I was like, oh, there's that window I broke.
They didn't even want to fix it. It was just a constant reminder for you.
Yeah, they just left it there. And so I was thankful that at least when I was, we were doing a living rosary that day. And if you don't know what that is, it's a rosary, has different beads on there. Well, all of us students lined up around the church, and we all represented one of the prayers. And we had to go up to the microphone and say the prayer, and then that was the whole project there. But while we were standing in line, you'd stand there for, it felt like hours.
Right.
And I remember I was leaning up against the wall, or in this case, the window, and there was a loud bang. And I started to, like, really panic and sweat and turn red. And I was like, man, I know I broke something. And one of my classmates, Valerie, was next to me. She was always laughing at me for everything. She was just laughing. And I remember the principal of the school was up at the front of the church, and she stopped everything, and she looked back there. And we all really disliked this particular principal, and she didn't like our class either. This was in 8th grade. And finally, I just stood there and didn't move. I didn't even look at anyone. And she finally went back to the living rosary, and then I thought, man, I've got to get off this window to see what's going on.
Right.
And I slowly lifted off, and I was so thankful that nothing fell and shattered.
Yeah, right.
And I just saw the crack, and then, I felt a little bit of relief, but then the only thing holding the window together was the frame.
Right.
And so luckily we got out of there right after that, and it never fell, never broke to this day, I don't think. I haven't been back to that. They moved the church out of that building to one next door to it now, so I haven't been in the old building to see if it's still broke. But yeah, for years after that, though, the masking tape was holding that thing together.
Right.
Some good tape.
Just chatting with you, though, I mean, so I could see somebody reading this and learning about your experience growing up, but then I also imagine just chatting with you, it's bringing up a lot of, like, experiences that I had growing up. I could see that happening to somebody that's reading it, thinking about, when I was in the 7th grade, this happened, or when I was in the 5th grade, this happened.
And right. That's cool. I think that's awesome. If whoever reads this book takes away from that, that kind of feeling, then that's cool. Then it serves a purpose,
Right.
And it makes people have a good time. Hopefully a good time. I mean, hopefully it's not really bad memories that you bring up. So, I mean, and I had some bad stuff in there too that, that happened to either people around me or myself. And you bring all that stuff up, and when you write a book like that, it feels kind of therapeutic in a way, because you get stuff off your chest, and you kind of certain people that I'm still in touch with now, they kind of see how things were back then, and it kind of gives them a feeling of like, hey, we weren't always friends back then, but maybe this explains why,
right.
What I was going through on my side of things. I don't know what you were going through, but hopefully it'll help bridge the gap there.
Yeah, let's get back to the anxiety thing for a second, because now anxiety spoken like it's just open, it's out there everywhere now. But you graduated in what year?
1990 from 8th grade.
From 8th grade in 1990. So, you're thinking about, formatively, you're an 80s kid.
Yeah.
Right? And they didn't talk about that stuff back then in the 80s, right? So if you had anxiety and you had this maybe social awkwardness of situations in the Catholic school, I'm not sure that they would handle that as well as they do today.
It wasn't even something that was really brought up. I remember I recount one time in there, it was in 5th grade, and I really didn't want to go to school because I was kind of the kid that was left out of the, playing with the other kids and stuff during that grade year, because our class merged with a bigger class, and I kind of got left on the outs. And I remember in the mornings before school, I would like sit at my house and like cry and not want to go to school. And my sister, who was older than me, would just yell at me, "Stop being a baby and get to school." And,
right.
That's how it was back then.
Yeah, I mean, zero compassion at all,
yeah,
right?
And it's stuff like that I think we've evolved more now in society and stuff like that, where people do consider things like that, so that kids aren't made to. I don't want to say like I suffered, but you don't have to go through things like that are difficult or kind of, they could be damaging in some aspects too. So.
Yeah, but you still got to go to school, anxiety or not, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
because I don't want to get in trouble even more, So.
Yeah, she may have helped you. So you're a family of authors then, right? Your sister published a book of poems. You published this book. It's kind of in the blood.
I mean, you never know. I mean, and the funny thing is about talking about family, I do talk about my family in this book a lot too, because it kind of, you have to when you're talking about going to school and your family life and stuff like that. So all of my brother, my 3 sisters, my mom and dad are in there. One of my nieces ended up going to school with me when I was in 8th grade. She was starting out, so she was a lot younger, but so it kind of rounds the whole picture out of, if you really want to know anything about me, and I'm not trying to be egotistical, but if anyone's curious, the whole family life is outlined in there too. So it kind of makes sense, I think.
Right. I mean, you've been a staple in Carlsbad for a while now.
Yeah, we moved up here in 2008, and
right.
So into my 15th year here now, living and working here. So it's been
right.
good. It's been good.
So now, so a lot of people know you, what they think they know you, but not until they read this book.
Right, and they probably don't know me as well now, because even still now, I don't like to go to social gatherings very much. And it's
right.
And I'll tell you, John, even it's funny. Even before coming here, I almost canceled because I was like, I don't want to go do this, and that whole anxiety kind of comes up a little bit, and you're like, oh no, let's just knock it off and get going.
Well, glad you braved through that, so the entire community or all of Southeast New Mexico can listen to you talk about it.
I hope so. I mean, and it's a little embarrassing to say, like, I'm still nervous about certain things, but at the same time, I know what it is, so it's
right.
It is what it is. So, but yeah, at the same time, I'll go out and coach, football teams and stuff like that. And I don't really have a problem with crowds then,
right.
But it's just certain aspects, certain settings do kind of make me feel a little underwhelmed and stuff like that. So,
well, you're kind of, in a way, you're kind of being put on the spot here, right? Because it's only you. There's nobody else in the studio right now. So the idea is
that's true.
Yeah. Right? It's just when it's all about you, which is what this is, essentially. Yeah. I can see how that nervousness could creep up a little bit.
Well, and also I don't like to stand out in the spotlight and talk about me and be like not egotistical, but I don't like to boast too much about certain things. When you're among friends and family, it's a different story.
Right.
But when you're out in the community, it's not, you don't want to make people feel like, hey, I'm great and this and that. That's not how I am. I don't feel like that. So I kind of shy away from a lot of stuff like that. Like if people ask me how come I don't go to a lot of the ribbon cuttings that the chamber puts on for the businesses that I help bring in.
Right.
Well, because I don't want to be at that setting. It's not about me. It's about the business. And it's not, I'll go to the business later and buy their goods and services or whatever, but I don't think I need to be there for that. You know what I mean?
So you were not at the Wingstop ribbon cutting?
No, I hardly go to any ribbon cuttings.
Okay, so all the bosses and everybody were okay with that. They know who you are. You do a great job, but you don't need to be the one that's the center of attention.
Yeah, I mean, I meet with them like behind the scenes and beforehand, when they're setting up their business stuff like that. Then that's when I have the meetings with them and stuff like that. So it's it's okay for them to. I even helped introduce them to Ashley at the chamber to get the ribbon cutting set up.
Right.
But I didn't go to the ribbon
right. You're like, no, that's okay. That's not a problem.
It's all about them at that point. I don't need to. And I know people could say, well, you should be there to celebrate their success and all that. And I'm like, I celebrate it in different ways with them. I talk to them and we congratulate each other over the phone and stuff like that. So it's, it's a different setting for me. So.
Right. So the book will tell you a lot about your anxiety and probably where it came from, or it's just something you think you've naturally had.
I think I just had it. I mean, I don't think I had anything like, there wasn't really an incident or a pattern of events that kind of shaped it. I think it was just there.
Right.
As early as I can remember, even going to kindergarten, I was kind of shy and nervous about things, and it's just a weird thing that you have to deal with sometimes, And it's funny, we talk about growing up in the '80s, and they didn't talk about certain medical conditions and stuff.
Yeah.
In the first grade story, I wrote about this kid, and I think his name was James or Jason, and I think I put it in there too. I couldn't remember his name, but he was always like falling out of his desk and climbing around his chair and playing with stuff like that. And of course, ADHD.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, back then, nobody was talking about ADHD. They were just telling him, hey, sit up or you're going to get in trouble, And so, you can kind of see how it was back then till now. And nowadays, people know how to diagnose certain things and you can take care of things and treat them. And kids get a better, way to interact and have a better education and stuff like that because they're not distracted and stuff like that. So it's crazy how, you can think back to how it was in the 80s till now. And I know it's been a while, but still, things have changed for the better, I think.
Right. It's kind of like, it's really interesting in a way that, the things that you are afflicted you when you're a child, the adults are always on you about them. Always, 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 right? But then that's also part of what can make you successful as you get older, right? Like, I mean, so the weird thing is the ADHD, I believe every young boy has it to some degree, actually. You're just squirming around like constantly. I definitely did. Right, but now as an adult, it helped me when it came to multitasking when I get older, right? And being able to do multiple things. So there's like a benefit to these things, right? I mean, the anxiety shaped your style of leadership in the community, but it's also been, a great benefit to the community as well.
I think so. I mean, that's a good, interesting way to put it, because I can do a lot of work when I'm not in the spotlight or people aren't watching me. And, I think I do some good stuff and get things done and accomplish a lot of things too. So, and plus I know how to interact with, the people that are in these industries, and they oftentimes don't like to be out in the spotlight either because they're trying to do things clandestinely. So I think it kind of works together in a good way.
Right. I have to agree. I mean, you've got some people that really like the limelight, and then that skill set that they bring out and showing out at the ribbon cutting and, doing these other important public things, you need people like that. But then
Right.
you also need the individuals behind the scenes for whatever reason or not don't want to be there.
Yeah, and I'm all for people showing up at the events like this because you want to see a good turnout and see a lot of people
Right.
out there, in the pictures and stuff like that. It's good for the business. And I'm not putting that down in any way, but I'm just saying, that's not my ball game there. So
Right. No, and it's a benefit all around. It's about having a cohesive team,
right,
if you will, right? And so your experiences and the anxiety and learning how to deal with that growing up has made you a more effective individual now. And that's kind of how I like to look at those type of things, because I do think that even though these experiences that parents may have got on you when you were younger, or these habits or tics in a way that you had, when you grow up, they roundabout and they benefit you in some way.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because, and in a sense, you kind of overcome the way that they may set you back at the time.
Right.
And so I think it makes you a stronger person all the way around because now you know what you're dealing with and you know how to take certain steps to, get around it and be better for it. So
right.
I think it's a good deal.
So most books are dedicated. Do you have a dedication in this book?
I do, and
somebody?
That version you're looking at was an earlier draft.
Okay.
But it's for the most part it's the same thoughts in the dedication. I dedicated the final dedication was to my wife, my kids, my family, my teachers, my old schoolmates, and a really good friend of mine named Art who passed away a couple years ago after a car accident.
Okay.
And that was one of the only really big regrets I had was that he didn't get to see this book because he was a really good dude and, gone way, way, way too soon. So,
right. Just at the beginning here, growing up, Hulk Hogan as my hero was great. And I don't know, I'm 42 years old. You and I are probably pretty similar in age, and whose hero was not Hulk Hogan back in the day, right? I mean, that guy was so awesome.
I remember in 5th grade, the little school newspaper we were starting was going around to classrooms asking us who was going to win between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant at WrestleMania, and we were all like, "Oh, it's got to be Hulk Hogan." And, it was just crazy times back then. And
that match, to this day, I will always remember that match. I mean, the whole country was watching that at that time. For
I still
sure.
say that body slam was one of the best moves in wrestling history. So,
yeah.
I mean, picking up a guy that big, I still have back issues today from trying to body slam a friend of mine when I was in high school.
Right.
And he was nowhere as big as Andre the Giant. So,
yeah, it was pretty. That's and so. Like I said, just talking to you about the book, right, brings back so many memories for myself, right? And I think that you're right. I think a lot of people will get that out of it as well.
Yeah, it's a good way to relive some nostalgia. You know what I mean? For better or worse. Hopefully, it's more for the better. But and that's why I really wanted to do the book from all sides, the good, the bad, and the OMG. It's easy to write about good things, things that are come to the top of your memories. But I think seeing the other side of the coin also helps just paint the picture all the way to the fullest. So I wanted to include everything. And then some of the OMG moments are, obviously when the church caught fire after, my friend and I were altar boys and we had to go light the candles.
Right.
And we didn't put the little wooden stick out all the way, apparently.
Sure.
And during communion, one of the teachers ran up to the priest, Father Tom, who was our priest we grew up with. And she screamed, "Oh, my God, the church is on fire." And he was giving out communion at the time, and he walked over and picked up the jar of the wooden, candle lighters, opened up the back door of the church, which led out to a desert. Really.
Okay, yeah.
Threw it outside, and then went right back to communion like nothing happened.
Right,
we were sitting there like, wow.
Just as cool, as calm as possible, right?
Kept his composure all the way through it, never looked excited or anything, and he just went right back to giving out communion to everybody.
Right, that's excellent. So, one last question before we wrap up because we're almost out of time.
Sure.
What in this book, as writing it, helped you grow now as an adult?
I think acknowledging that I learned from big mistakes as a kid. There's one particular story in there where there was my friend and I, Ryan, were in 4th grade and we were always we were having fights with these guys in the 8th grade who were kind of bullying us around and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, and I don't even still know where I would have learned it from, but it was the 80s. One of the guys, I ended up calling him a bad slur word. And I didn't put it in the book either because I didn't want to put that out there.
Right.
But, living through that whole thing, at the end of that grade year, during the course of our altercations, that guy had actually spat in my face and he wanted to fight me because I called him that ugly word. And at the end of the year, though, we ended up shaking hands, making up, and apologizing to each other. And I think stuff like that you write about now or talk about now shows that you learn from some of the mistakes, and you can come back from, some pretty devastating things. And like, you understand what the other person was going through. They understand what you were going through.
Right.
And it kind of just helps you build each other back up. So I think that's probably the biggest thing out of the book that helped me grow, and also just get those memories out there, the happy ones, the good ones, the bad ones. And I had a friend of mine who went to school with me. I just mentioned him, Ryan. Like 2 days after the book went out, he already read the whole thing, and I was like, "Wow, it took me 7 years to write it."
Yeah.
He said, "You nailed it. Everything you put in there, I remember exactly the way you said it, and it was just portrayed perfectly." And he just had high praise, and I just told him, "Man, that means a lot. I appreciate that." So,
Right.
I think I hopefully everyone will get the same kind of takeaway from the book when they read it.
Right, that's excellent. So Catholic Grade School Tales, The Good, the Bad, and the OMG, available on Amazon now. Right. Best way you can obviously go to Amazon and type in the name of the book, or you can just go to Jeff Campbell's Facebook page, just a few posts down.
There you go.
Really easy to find. There's a link right to it. $10 less if you're a Kindle reader.
Right.
And
hopefully to be published here in town soon. I'm going to try to get some copies here at maybe the museum, the bookstore, the library.
Yeah.
Up at the Southeast New Mexico College. So hopefully we'll have it here soon locally. Like I said, I'm working with several other publishers to get it on their sites as well. So
right.
I want to try to get it out as much as I can, but self-publishing, so it takes time, step by step.
And you learned a lot through the process as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, it wasn't just about writing the book. You do have to learn about the publishing aspect of it all, and what it means to put a book together, and all the formatting and the just the whole process. And it was a definite learning experience, but I'm happy that I went through it because now I understand it.
So you've got this book published.
Right.
Took you 7 years kind of to develop it, to get it written. Are there any other books in your future or on the horizon?
Well, there's a couple things actually I want to do. Eventually, I'll probably write Catholic high school tales.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, because a lot of my high school buddies were saying, "Hey, you got to write about this and that." And I said, "Well, give me a second. I just barely fit." And then there's actually a cartoon that I've been working on that's based on one of my old classmates. And hopefully I can get that going pretty soon, too. I've already drawn several panels of it and stuff like that. So we'll see. You never know. But.
All right. Excellent. The multi-talented Jeff Campbell. We're going to start with Jeff Campbell, local Carlsbad author. And he happens to be the marketing and business development guy at the Carlsbad Department of Development.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Jeff, thanks a lot for coming on. Everybody go pick up that book, Amazon, Catholic Grade School Tales, The Good, the Bad, and the OMG. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.